that made her very wary about answering, in case her words were twisted against her. And why did they all want to know something she wasn't too sure of herself? There was a narrow bridge across the void. Along it walked a black and white sheepdog, followed by a black dragon. The dog never looked back at the dragon, just forward, his questing written into every line of his body, from the mobile, pointed ears to the feathered tail. The bridge itself was narrow, made of vast, interlocking blocks of adamantine, or at least that is the way it looked. Reality might be somewhat different, at least to the eyes of a Planomancer. Such eyes would see deeper than the ordinary spectra of light, and could see patterns of energy. Fionn, the black dragon, saw it all as the weave of magics that made the bridge between the planes of existence. He knew the bridge was fragile and fraught with danger. That did not stop him walking along it, any more than it stopped Delius, the sheepdog. The bridge was barely 2 cubits wide and had no rail. Far, far below seethed the tumult of primal chaos. The only way the dog could go was straight ahead. He kept looking left, though. That was where he wanted to go. Sometimes he would raise his nose and sniff. Fionn knew there was nothing to smell out here. The air that surrounded the bridge was drawn and melted by the magics of it, from the raw chaos. It was new air, and Fionn knew that it did not exist a few paces behind them, or a few paces ahead. He was still sure Delius was following the faint trail of something, a something which even a very clever dog could best understand as scent, even if there was nothing to smell. At least he hoped that was the case, hoped with every fibre of his very ancient being. Fionn had long since given up on caring too much. He was not immortal, as far as he knew. He could certainly be killed. But compared to others, even of his own kind, the black dragon was long-lived. Time passed, and so did friends. His work was never done, fixing the balance, keeping the planes stable. He moved on. He'd been hated, he'd been worshipped, though it irritated him. He'd been laughed at and reviled. He'd been feared. He'd even been loved. He had never loved before, though. The black and white sheepdog was more experienced at love than the dragon, and he was a young dog still, maybe 8 months old, barely more than a pup. But Delius, whose name was Faithful in an old tongue, long forgotten by most men, would go to the ends of the world for her, and beyond, as they were now. His mistress was his all, and he would search for her until he died, or he found her. Fionn knew that he'd do the same. His scrap, his inept apprentice, had been plucked from them by magic. Her own magic and her own choice, made freely for them, and for Tasmarin, the place of dragons. Fionn knew, however, that it had cost her dearly. For him, left here without her, it was a worthless sacrifice. So now, somewhere, back in some place that she'd been torn from as a babe, they had to find her again. Fionn had no idea where that might be. A place of magics, where human magery ran strong in the blood. That much he could be sure of. But there were many such places in the interlinking chain of worlds, and they themselves were large and complex places. It was a good thing that Delius seemed to have some idea where to go, because Fionn didn't know where to even start, except by trying everywhere. He would do that, if need be. He had time. He would never give up. The only problem was that she was human and very mortal, and, if he had to be truthful with himself, she was able to attract disaster toward herself just by being there. Fionn had never known love. He'd never really known worry either. Pain and the avoidance of it, yes. Fear, yes. But now he was afraid for her, worried. The end of the bridge was now visible, if wreathed in smoke or...